Selamat pagi semuanya. Senang banget berada di sini. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua, baik untuk teman-teman yang berada di Indonesia maupun di Australia. Welcome to the Anuisa Expert Series Point 3. It's so exciting to see everyone here. Terima kasih banyak teman-teman yang sudah menyempatkan waktunya pagi-pagi. I know it's 7 a.m. di Jakarta, jadi terima kasih banyak Pak Denny yang sudah hadir. And 10 a.m. di Canberra. So whether you're here in between classes with your morning coffee or still in your pajamas, you made the right choice to join us today. Perkenalkan, saya Christine Claudia. Saya sedang menempuh studi of Master of Public Policy di ANU dengan spesialisasi Environmental Policy. Senang sekali bisa menemani teman-teman semua di sesi pagi hari ini. First of all, I want to say a big shout out and thank you to Anuisa, the Australian National University Indonesian Student Association, for making this session possible. Expert Series sendiri adalah salah satu program spesial dari teman-teman Anuisa yang dirancang khusus untuk mendukung perkembangan karir teman-teman yang sedang menempuh studi di ANU Canberra maupun alumni ANU yang kini sudah kembali ke Indonesia setelah menyelesaikan studinya. Tujuan dari Expert Series sendiri adalah untuk menciptakan ruang koneksi bagi teman-teman profesional muda agar bisa bertemu langsung nih dengan para experts di bidangnya, baik secara online seperti hari ini maupun in person seperti Expert Series sebelumnya. So, harapannya di sini kita bisa membangun jejaring bersama, berbagi pengalaman, dan ngobrol-ngobrol satu sama lain, siapa tahu di masa depan bisa lahir berbagai kesempatan buat kolaborasi bareng. Dan kali ini very special karena kita akan membahas bidang yang sedang booming banget dan selalu berkembang pesat, yaitu dunia teknologi. I know that everyone here is very excited dan udah gak sabar banget buat bertemu dengan tamu spesial kita dan mendengarkan pengalamannya. But before we dive in, let's first hear some opening remarks from the person who has made this possible, who has worked so hard to bring us all together today. She's currently pursuing her Master of Energy Change at the ANU, and we're so grateful she has taken the time to be with us this morning. Please welcome the President of Anuisa 2025, Kak Intan Permatasari. Waktu dipersilakan, Kak Intan.
Oke, thank you so much, Christine. Suaraku masuk ya? Oke, sip, thank you. Halo semuanya, selamat pagi dari Canberra. Yang kami hormati Pak Denny Galan, terima kasih Bapak sudah menyempatkan untuk hadir bertemu teman-teman di sini walaupun secara online. Yang saya banggakan tentunya teman-teman Anuisa yang sudah mengkoordinir acara ini dan semua partisipan yang sudah hadir di kesempatan pada kali ini. Perkenalkan teman-teman, saya Intan di sini sebagai Presiden Anuisa tahun 2025. Sekarang ambil Master of Energy Change di College of Science and Medicine di ANU Canberra. Senang sekali hari ini kita bisa berkumpul di acara Expert Series Anuisa yang ketiga. Seperti yang sebelumnya mungkin sudah disebutkan juga sama Christine, Expert Series ini adalah program spesial dari Anuisa yang utamanya kami rancang untuk mempertemukan teman-teman mahasiswa ANU dengan para expert, tapi tidak menutup kemungkinan juga untuk mempertemukan antara mahasiswa, akademisi, dan juga para expert di bidang-bidang tertentu untuk kedepannya kita bisa sama-sama belajar dari para expert dan membangun jejaring dan tentunya tidak menutup kemungkinan untuk berkolaborasi di kemudian hari. Teman-teman semua, ini adalah acara Expert Series yang ketiga. Yang pertama waktu itu Anuisa sudah melakukan bersama Mbak Ririn, seorang expert di bidang konsultansi, dan yang kedua bersama Mbak Alicia selaku expert di bidang stakeholder engagement. Dan hari ini kita sangat beruntung kedatangan Pak Denny Galan selaku country head of Android platforms and ecosystem di Google Indonesia. Pak Denny Galan memiliki pengalaman lebih dari 28 tahun di bidang industri teknologi dengan berbagai rekam jejak kepemimpinan beliau di perusahaan-perusahaan yang luar biasa besar seperti di Samsung, BlackBerry, XL Axiata hingga Vivo. Dan saat ini Pak Denny berperan penting dalam mengembangkan ekosistem Android di Indonesia dan membangun kemitraan strategis yang mendorong inovasi. Teman-teman, kami percaya pengalaman dan wawasan yang akan dibagikan oleh Pak Denny hari ini akan menjadi inspirasi untuk teman-teman semuanya, untuk kita semua, terutama bagi mahasiswa dan juga alumni NU yang sedang meniti karir ke depannya. Terima kasih banyak atas kehadirannya. Teman-teman semua, mohon maaf karena saya juga sedang di tengah-tengah kelas. Habis ini saya akan meninggalkan ruangan lagi. Mohon maaf sekali, tapi semoga tidak mengurangi kesempatan belajar teman-teman semua. Mari kita sama-sama menyimak sesi ini dengan antusias dan juga terbuka untuk belajar. Kalau misalkan nanti teman-teman mau rewatch lagi, bisa di YouTube Anuisa, di YouTube PPIANU. Nanti kami akan mengupload rekaman sesi kali ini karena kami percaya ini akan sangat berguna dan juga bisa bermanfaat bagi kita semua. Mungkin sekian dari aku kembalikan ke Christine. Selamat belajar untuk kita semua. Terima kasih.
Thank you Kak Intan. Makasih banyak udah menyempatkan waktunya buat di sini. I know that this is very busy week gitu ya buat teman-teman ANU karena bentar lagi kita teaching break and it's exam week. So very happy to be here dan juga udah banyak banget partisipan yang mulai hadir. So let's move on to the highlight of the day. Our special guest speaker yang seperti tadi sudah disebutkan oleh Kak Intan juga. We're very lucky, we're very honored untuk ditemani oleh Pak Denny Galan. Hari ini, Country Head of Android Platform and Ecosystem di Google Indonesia. Kalau teman-teman pernah menggunakan Android phones, I'm very sure everyone has at some point. Pekerjaan Pak Denny sendiri sebenarnya sudah menyentuh kehidupan sehari-hari kita banget nih ya. Pak Denny sendiri sudah memiliki lebih dari 28 tahun pengalaman mendorong inovasi dan pertumbuhan di industri mobile dan teknologi khususnya di Indonesia. Hari ini beliau akan berbagi insight tentang how to navigate a competitive tech environment, build innovative products, and be part of very high performing teams. Keterampilan yang tentunya penting gak cuma di dunia teknologi, tapi juga di berbagai jalur karir lainnya. I'm very sure teman-teman di ANU juga kebetulan banyak yang sedang menempuh master gitu ya, baik di teknologi, environment, policy, and I think this is going to be a very important for us. Kebetulan acara hari ini memang kita terbuka untuk teman-teman ANU, tapi kita juga sengaja membuatnya lebih eksklusif dan lebih dekat supaya teman-teman di sini bisa mengenal Pak Denny lebih dekat dan kesempatan untuk bertanya secara personal tetap terbuka. Again, we're very lucky to have this opportunity. Dan untuk memandu sesi dan diskusi kita hari ini, izinkan saya menyerahkan kepada moderator kita, Arizal Jaknanihan atau yang biasa dikenal dengan Rizal, yang saat ini sedang menempuh Master of International Relations di Coral Bell School ANU. Waktu dan tempat saya persilahkan kepada Rizal.
Baik, oke, terima kasih banyak Christine, terima kasih banyak Intan, dan juga terima kasih sebesar-besarnya untuk Pak Denny sudah meluangkan waktu untuk hadir. Tadi mungkin Christine dan Intan sudah touch upon background dari Pak Denny ya, yang mana memang betul sudah melanglang buana di bidang mobile and technology. Jadi sudah lebih dari 28 tahun Pak ya, jadi istilahnya kalau 28 tahun saya baru terjun ke dunia, Pak Denny udah terjun ke industri gitu, jadi truly a lifetime experience. Jadi mungkin sebelum Pak Denny kami berikan kesempatan untuk sharing materinya, mungkin sedikit gambaran Pak, kita ada banyak banget peserta hari ini, kita itu background-nya macam-macam, walaupun mungkin kebanyakan student dari ANU itu demografinya cukup unik ya, karena majority itu master dan juga other postgraduate student, dan bachelornya ada juga. Kita di sini ada macam-macam, mulai dari yang Master of Public Policy seperti ada Ilham dan juga Christine, ada juga mungkin yang computing seperti Sean, Shiril dan lain-lain, dan juga ada kawan-kawan kita dari Economic Policy. Jadi ini background-nya macam-macam banget ya. kita yakin dari pengalaman yang Pak Denny share, kita bisa belajar banyak banget. Terutama dari mungkin jatuh bangunnya industri, ataupun bagaimana cara membuat tim yang leading di tengah industri yang super-super kompetitif seperti mobile and tech. Oke, mungkin untuk seterusnya kita bakal ada materi dari Pak Denny kurang lebih selama 20 menit ya. Lalu kita akan ada Q&A dari situ. Tapi kalau buat teman-teman yang ada pressing question, itu bisa banget kita langsung taruh aja di kolom chat yang bakal kita bacakan nanti di kolom di ketika sesi Q&A. Oke, kalau begitu mungkin saya serahkan untuk Pak Denny. The floor is yours, the time is yours. Silakan.
Terima kasih Mas Rizal. Alright, selamat pagi rekan-rekan semua. Thank you sebelumnya. It's an honor juga buat saya bisa kenalan semuanya dengan teman-teman hari ini. So the pleasure is also mine. Mbak Christine, Mas Rizal, Mas Hanif, Mbak Intan dan rekan-rekan semua. Waktu kita tentunya nggak banyak. I only have sampai jam 8 pagi ini. So di waktu yang ada ini saya akan coba untuk sharing. Dan semoga apa yang saya share bisa bermanfaat. Hopefully, ya Mas Rizal, hopefully bisa bermanfaat dan ada value, ada yang bisa takeaways yang diambil oleh teman-teman sekalian. So, okay. The topic today is navigating career in tech, seperti yang tadi sudah disampaikan. Sailing and riding through the wave of mobile revolution. Is either evolution or revolution. Saya suka sekali taruh R di sana. How mobile technology changed almost literally everything, including myself. Okay. The presentation hari ini, presentation today tidak merepresentasikan any institution. I'm here as a professional to share for academic purpose. Okay, let's start with introduction or not a usual introduction. Before I introduce again myself, mungkin saya nggak akan terlalu panjang nanti di myself introduction, but I'd like to take you a step back, think about the impact of mobile ecosystem. Tadi udah disampaikan gimana today without kita realizing it ya, mungkin teman-teman not many of you notice kalau let's say 30 years ago, 35 years ago, these things are almost not exist in Indonesia kan. The cellular booming, the cellular starting di Indonesia itu tahun 95-96, but today kita udah punya mobile ecosystem complete ini. Di sini saya kasih lihat mulai dari mobile ecosystem complete Android, to the latest technology, sekarang udah banyak AI, kemudian dan sebagainya. Now, I'd like us to step back and think about the impact. From the published information, beberapa tahun lalu yang saya ingat pernah ada artikel mention that more than 60 juta, saya lupa atau 70 juta penduduk di Indonesia belum ada akses internet. Now, if we think of what is the enabler of internet access di Indonesia saat ini, Indonesia is very big. Think about the users in the third-tier cities, fourth-tier cities. What the things that enabling access, internet access to everyone. The device that in everyone's palm is, of course, smartphone, right? So that is the device that enabling internet access to everyone. And of course, from there is start accelerating the digital economy. Kita semua banyak bicara soal this startup, that startup, but if we remember, what is really the center of that mobile economy revolution is actually the smartphone itself. What are the things, the media that deliver all this high-tech innovation if we don't have a smartphone in our hand, right? And again, like what I said, I think the most device that delivering all this experience to the 270 million people in Indonesia adalah tentunya smartphone. So it's clearly that the impact is accelerating digital economy. It drives innovation. Again, seperti tadi sudah saya sampaikan. Now is the era of AI, for example, Gemini, etc., and so on. Of course, from Google, Gemini is improving everyone's life, advancing technologies, and again, it's all depends on smartphone. Yeah, so dan ini nggak berhenti di sini. Dan seterusnya. Advancing technologies, fixed mobile convergence, there's a lot of new technologies that's coming. Now, with that, I think that what shaped me, that is who I am, of what my career. Tadi udah disampaikan oleh Mas Rizal dan juga Mbak Christine sebelumnya. So I start my career di Motorola. 1996, I started as an engineer. Then I go to Nokia Networks. But the pivot things, I'll come to that later, to mobile device industry, itu di 2003 in Nokia mobile phones. I spent a lot of years in Nokia mobile phones, so I think totally Nokia was 13 years. That was during the peak of the mobile phone rising di Indonesia. Habis itu saya ke Qualcomm. Qualcomm, if you know, Qualcomm is actually the manufacturer of Snapdragon, right? It was the largest at the time, one of the large chipset manufacturer yang powering smartphone pada saat itu. Then of course I joined BlackBerry in Indonesia di 2010. Switch to telco operator XL Axiata to get a different perspective of the mobile industry. Then I back again to Samsung. Samsung is a leading Android smartphone di Indonesia saat itu. As a group head of product, kemudian saya continue ke Vivo Mobile until then today I serve in Google as the head of Android platform and ecosystem di Google Indonesia. So just to describe a bit, if you look at the stages of my career, starting from Motorola, Nokia mobile phone, Qualcomm, for me it's like circling the journey. So from engineering to network infrastructure to chipset, then to operating system. BlackBerry was the operating system actually more than a device. Then to telco side, to operator side as a network telco infrastructure. Back to Samsung, and now I'm in the operating system in Android in Google. So it's in stage one. I would say this is like the foundation stage. I graduated from University of Indonesia. Saya graduate dari UI, Teknik Elektro, major in telecommunication. I would say this is like the foundation stage on engineering. That's probably what formed the frame thinking, how I approach the problem, and the reflection of the behavior that I have in every stage of my career. Stage 2, kemudian saya masuk ke managerial. I start becoming a network planning manager di Indonesia tahun 2001, ya tahun 2001 di Nokia Networks. Start learning on managing people, coordinating works, managing business, and the behavior that required to perform in that role. Stage 3, I would say that as I continue learning and developing myself on the business leadership side, start heading a business unit responsible for a certain target, becoming a business contributor and contribute bigger to the organization, to whichever company that I work with. So grow further in corporate later in stage 4, of course. So you lead the business already, you have an experience of managing things, then stage 4, I will say then I'm going external, going broader. I start thinking what I can do in giving more impact. So that's why I start with do a step back, think about the impact, because that will be the core that will always saya akan coming back ke situ terus. Think about the impact. So thinking about the impact, what I can do broader to this industry that I'm very passionate about, right, on this mobile tech. Then I start thinking, okay, what about if my next role is building ecosystem? Building ecosystem, because I believe in building ecosystems, I can make a greater impact. Tidak hanya tentunya for the organization, but of course to the nation, misalnya ya, buat and this is like a real impact that I can contribute. In this case, accelerate Indonesia digitalization, for example. So it's been a journey sailing through the wave of tech, starting dari engineer 28 years or 29 years ago, being at the center of after launching of the new mobile phone, of a new cool gadget, I would say. But the essence of it is those devices itu launch to improve users' life, ya, to improve users' experience, meningkatkan quality of life dari users di Indonesia. And of course, the journey is not end here. As I said before, it's a continuous learning and self-development. So how is the mindset to there's no stop of the process of continuous learning and continue developing ourselves. Saya juga lagi berpikir sekarang setelah stage 4 ini, lead and drive beyond and building ecosystem, building collaboration, building partnerships. What else? What next that I can learn and I can grow myself with? So I'd like to give more and more contribution also. For example, I was in the Indonesia Day. If you zoom in, you can see there's Jensen Huang there. So yeah, it's such a pleasure to have a knowledge sharing with that kind of prominent speaker. Okay, now thank you sebelumnya Mas Rizal sama rekan-rekan yang udah mengorganizing acara ini. I think it's a very great and but it's also a broad topic. So allow me to try to add my best to give some sharing yang mudah-mudahan bisa ada takeaways yang berguna buat teman-teman. Now let's look inside on the product marketing and business developments. The two things that highlighted in the discussion. Okay. Coming back to this again because this will relate dengan apa yang akan saya bicarakan selanjutnya. I just want to give a picture here, rekan-rekan sekalian, from mobile phones to smartphones. Okay, what was that? 2005. Dari 2005 ke sekarang, let's say 2025, right? So let's say in the span of 20 years. Oh, by the way, teman-teman bisa lihat ini di Indonesia actually. Ini di Indonesia. You can see that the revolution actually start di 2010 kalau dilihat di situ. Actually this picture is also like summarizing my career juga, mulai dari Nokia, BlackBerry all the way sampai Samsung. But what you can see here is that before jadi sebelum 2010 itu dunia smartphone ini very fragmented. There is no like standard operating systems. Until Android came to Indonesia di 2010 ya, di 2010 dan boom, all the way the spike ya, the growth was spiking gitu ya di Indonesia, with that so many choices setelah kita udah ada standardized open platform. What I want to highlight here is that you can see like the essence of this slide adalah dulu Nokia was very dominant. One brand was very dominant, dan digantikan oleh brand yang lainnya, ya. The thing is that, mungkin saya akan skip ini. Back ke yang tadi. If you look on this evolution or this revolution, smartphone is now become the center of our life today, ya kan? Saya nggak perlu bahas ini lebih banyak. The journey from basic 2G phone until it became 4G intelligent powerful smartphone, this is what actually empowered and enable, for example, all the startups, all the application, semua cool stuff, all the innovation that we have is actually delivered through smartphone di handset kita. But the thing is, seperti tadi chart yang tadi kita lihat, mobile technology is evolving at a lightning pace, right? This is just an example aja. Of course, this is not literally as is. Just to give a visualization, selalu ada inovasi di setiap quarter. That like to the extreme. Like almost we never know what comes in the around the corner. I look back 2005, 2007 waktu my previous companies at that time, that one brand waktu itu masih sangat let's say dominan was sangat dominan di market. We at that time we never see kita nggak pernah lihat bahwa di horizon itu, for example, akan coming 2 operating system baru yang will disrupt di teknologi, disrupt di industri. Teman-teman tentunya tahu apa yang saya maksud. But the point is there's no such thing as constant strategy, right? What relevant now will be irrelevant in really short time. Itu sebabnya saya juga always continuous developing myself. Try to absorb, try to adopt what are the new things happen out there. We have to master it, right? We have to know it, we have to master it. Because what is my strength 5 tahun, 10 tahun lalu udah nggak relevan sekarang, ya kan? I think that one of the thing that's key of me being constantly in this tech industry. We have to continuously absorb what's the latest thing, because again, what relevant now will be irrelevant in short time. There is no stable and constant state. Okay, technology disruptions keep coming. You never know what will happen in the economic. Yang kejadian di pandemic. Ini sambil contoh dari pada saat pandemik lalu, for example, nobody foreseen that it's coming, right? Nobody foreseen it's coming. Suddenly there's an economic downturn. Even post-pandemic, nobody see it's coming that fast as well. tiba-tiba dari online ya, we all prepare to switch to online. All of a sudden it's back to offline, right? We think it's gonna be hybrid for so long. Well, basically it's like almost offline 100% now, or already 100%, even more offline than before pandemic, if I can say that. But of course, now kita lebih familiar with all these digital remote work, etc. The competitive pressure will be always there. Kita nggak sendirian out there di market, despite we really care about what is our contribution out there to the nation, for example, to the end user. Tapi the competition is real kan. We are not alone there. Tentunya selalu ada competitive pressure. Regulatory keep changing, of course. It happen everywhere. Selalu ada regulatory changes karena dari pihak regulator juga need to adapt with what's happening in the industry or in the landscape today. Contoh misalnya challenge yang dihadapi oleh regulator hari ini terkait misalnya, mungkin saya nggak mention ya, terkait apa yang terjadi di market. It wasn't exist like 10 years ago atau 5 years ago. Social environment factor. So there's no stable and constant state. Thriving in business today, not only tech, I think adaptability, especially in tech, yeah, adaptability, agility, and fast time to market is very key, kan? The key word here that always resonate with myself is adaptability. Business as usual, traditional approach, competition, it become only competition oriented. Instead of innovate, we start thinking if everything goes as per theory, yeah, hypothetical. We only start thinking on competition. Kita lupa bahwa we need to look at what is the user's need, for example, and need to innovate. But the reality of the work is on the right side here, kan? It's different path ahead, always different landscape. You entering your market is a different landscape. Every market is different. For example, every segment is different. Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen X, Millennial, all have different needs. For example, it's just from the demographic. We need innovation to overcome that barrier. Even di Indonesia, for example, geographic, seperti tadi saya udah bilang, first tier cities, second tier cities, third tier cities. The tech approach there is cannot be the same, ya kan? Premium, most advanced technologies yang bisa dinikmati di first tier cities might be not that relevant to the fourth tier cities, for example. So it's always different path, it's always different landscape. We need to think on the innovation to overcome barrier. Nanti saya akan give some flavor on that, reflecting tempat saya kerja sekarang. Okay, I was asked to talk a bit, yeah, Mas Rizal, correct me if I'm wrong. I was asked to talk a bit about some of the work that I did, either today or in the past. So maybe ini saya take some example dari some of the work that I involve a lot in the OEM industry, for example kayak di Samsung, if I can mention the brand, and the previous other OEMs. The product management is a very broad and complex. Ini bisa jadi kelas sendiri nih Mas Rizal. It can be 2 hours or 4 hours alone. The roles is like okay, put it this way. Product marketer or product manager's job is to leverage or to bring or what offered by the product to the end users and maximize it. So bring product value to the market, driving its adoption. And it's not easy. Product marketer mesti menemukan relevansinya apa dari product value yang dimiliki ke market and driving the adoption. Strategize the product portfolio. Think like this. The company, the organization, of course, has the objective, let's say, to win the market, to excel in market, to win a market share, etc., and so on. On the other side, you have to think about the partner, the channel. You have to think about the end users, whether it's relevant or not. So it's related with product positioning, pricing, profitability, for example, and it's getting complex if you think about the profitability as well, because you have to have a right product mix. Right product mix that you remember. Once you decide the product mix, product strategy, it will lead to a subsequential. It's like a chain in the process. It will lead to a forecast. It will lead to how many devices that will be produced that will be shipped into the country, for example. And that's only the forecast and logistic alone. Then you have to talk about the product positioning, etc. and so on. But despite all that complexity, kalau misalnya saya harus highlight one, I would say the key is focus to the user. Focus to the user in tech companies, in tech industries, I think it goes the same. In any tech companies, be it a mobile device, technology company, be it operating system, platform companies, it all starts from what the user need. What do they need? Gimana sih changes dari technology impact them? We need to have a right data points to understand them, how to reach them, how to communicate with them. So that and that highlighting some attributes yang tadi saya udah bilang. You have to have a strategic vision, business acumen, market customer understanding, dan seterusnya. Now, the other part, another example is on business development. For example, this is probably talking about the later stage, right? About like the building ecosystem thing. Business development, okay. Saya mau coba bawa ini lebih dari sekedar building business, but it's about build and nurture ecosystem. It's about building an impact, yeah, building an impact by formulating a strategic partnership, forming a strategic partnership, making formulate a win-win partnerships business model and make an impact. It's like scale up impact. So 1 + 1 itu tidak equal dengan 2, tapi 1 + 1 is 3. That's a partnership. That's the scale of impact that we need to think through. But I come more deeper on that, on the impact. I give an example. Misalnya, I just making it up. Misalnya kita lihat dari problem statement device financing. Oh, oke. Banyak penduduk di Indonesia di third-tier cities, fourth-tier cities, mereka nggak bisa afford, let's say the latest high-tech device. So we need an ecosystem play. We cannot work alone. Let's say, for example, kita kerjasama dengan telco untuk providing like mereka duluan yang akan providing data internet aksesnya kan. Then we need the OEM manufacturers because seperti yang saya bilang, OEM is the smartphone manufacturers. The terminology is OEM. So OEMs itu seperti misalnya Samsung, Nokia, Vivo, Oppo, that's OEMs. So you need manufacturers in this initiative. Then you need to financier, karena if the initiative is to break affordability, then you need financier. Ada banyak sekali di Indonesia to be in the game. Then you need a retailer because this is the point of sales or POS, ya, channel untuk sampai ke konsumen. Then you need a technology system integrator. Misalnya device financing ini come up with an application yang akan kasih, as simple as that, yang akan kasih scoring loan untuk end user, for example, untuk beli device. You will need a system integrator. So this is just, I want to just give an example of how correlate and it requires ecosystem effort to just break one problem statement. Ini just describing tadi yang tadi saya udah ceritain barusan, misalnya problem statementnya, we want to accelerate internet access to everyone, but hey, hold on a second. If we want to reach X million subscriber by misalnya 2002 sekian, we need to break the affordability barrier dulu, ya kan? Karena misalnya kendalanya adalah people nggak bisa afford untuk beli smartphone. Then the solution is, the initiative, the hypothesis is, okay, we need a financing solution to break affordability ownership, but we need so people can have broadband internet, supaya mereka bisa meningkatkan kualitas hidupnya melalui misalnya digital contents atau application yang relevan, ya kan? At the end, how they can improve their life is tentunya juga akan ada related dengan aplikasi-aplikasi yang ada di luar sana. Apakah itu aplikasi fintech atau ride hailing dan sebagainya. Yeah, so it will require a collaboration across industries, and that is our role. That is our role to form this collaboration, mengajak berbagai pihak untuk kerjasama. Device partnerships, and then what about internally? Then internally, of course, not only externally but internally, we're talking about many cross-product areas, many function business unit, even in our internal company, right? Those who are looking after device, those who are looking after partnerships, those who look after marketing, product units, even maybe there's some regulatory aspects as well. So that's another example. Now, to summarize, I would say the attribute and skills in an innovative and ever-changing environment like tech, saya mention berkali-kali tadi, saya ulang-ulang soal adaptability is super important. Curiosity, resilience, comfort with ambiguity. Maksudnya, we will never have a perfect stage of perfect stage of, let's say kita perlu perfect data set to analyze before we draft an action plan. We can't have that. Ya kan, nggak akan selalu ada ideal state seperti itu, seperti tadi yang saya bilang. There's no stable and state, there's no stable and constant state, gitu ya. We have to be comfort with ambiguity. Mulai dari apa yang kita punya, leverage with what we have, right? Leverage with what we have. Open mindset. We always start with ini teknologi, how to improve it, how to make it better, how to make it work, right? That is mindset. We're not starting from analyzing. No, it cannot be done because of this, but we think about, okay, yes, it can be done, or maybe it can be done, but think about overcome barriers. And to do that, one of the important thing adalah listen to the user. User is very broad. It's not only the end user customer out there that I'm talking about. Your user. Misalnya teman-teman di organisasi interface with your colleague. Your colleague is the user, right? Think about the user, what's their need to understand and give solution, and always open mindset. Collaboration is a very important attribute, I think, both internally and externally the tech company, because the problem is always complex, ya kan? Complex problem solving will require structure and creative mindset. Oke, waktu kita nggak banyak, saya kasih sedikit contoh, ya, saya kasih sedikit contoh. Now again, ini juga udah publish, ada teman-teman banyak udah lihat di luar sana. Di Google itu ada yang namanya Google X, kalau teman-teman tahu. Jadi ya, if you browse di Alphabet, ya, di Alphabet itu ada Google X, ada business unit yang namanya Google X. This is really reflecting the culture of innovation, ya, the culture of innovation. Ini cuma satu contoh, ya, in one of the company that I work. Salah satu contoh the culture of innovation. Misalnya, saya ambil contoh dari Google X misalnya. The stake is always start from focus to the user. The mindset, dan ini publish, ya, it is everyone knows. The mindset is 10 times thinking. So they never think about growth. Gimana ya growth 50%, 15%? No, 10 times growth. The mindset start from how to make it 10 times growth. Sebetulnya ada lagi yang tidak tertulis di sini, which is fail fast and iterate, but it reflect to the failure rate of the initiative. Nggak masalah tinggi, but the important points is fail fast and iterate. Ini saya kasih beberapa contoh, ya. This is all real. Yang kiri Waymo, teman-teman udah familiar dong dengan Waymo, ya. Self-driving car. Udah banyak, ya, Waymo. Nah, yang tengah ini mungkin teman-teman ada yang tahu, ada yang enggak. This is Loon, tapi Loon udah deprecated. Loon is the technology where Google waktu itu punya inisiatif untuk solving the problem of internet access di banyak negara di dunia. Pakai balon, ya, jadi terbang di LEO, di low Earth orbit, and those balloon here, ya, kalau kita lihat teman-teman, is connected as a transmission backbone, kemudian serving sebagai internet. This already deprecated. Sekarang yang lagi udah roll out in market, so this is not ini udah publish juga. Tara, ya, jadi ada project Tara. Project Tara ini adalah transmitting internet through light, through beam, to laser beam. So internet is transmitted through laser beam already now, through lights, ya. This project Tara. Equipmentnya as small as this, but actually it will deliver like gigabyte internet through lights, gitu, ya. So this is like the spirit, the culture of innovation. Ini contoh yang lain lagi.
Pak Denny, maaf, kita ada 1 menit lagi, Pak, ya.
Sure. Okay. This is the last slide actually. Yeah, this is the last slide. So culture of innovation, salah satu reflection lagi dari fail fast and iterate. So Google Glass, for example, it start maybe with a crazy idea, gitu, ya. Start with a crazy idea, tapi sekarang terakhir kayak di Google I/O 2025, we hear that it's the first Android platform built on Gemini, powers an ecosystem, headset, glass, everything in between. So this is the last slide. Adaptive, collaborative, focus to the users, open mind, respect ideas, growth mindset. make meaningful and positive impact of what we do, always strive to go for extra miles, tidak berhenti di satu titik, and always continuous learning and grow ourselves. I think that's to conclude my sharing. Mas Rizal, teman-teman, thank you.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Denny untuk sharingnya. Saya jujur belajar banyak banget sebagai orang yang mungkin belum pernah terjun di tech industry, even if I'm a user currently. Oke, mungkin karena kita ada waktunya singkat aja untuk Q&A, buat teman-teman yang tertarik bisa langsung drop question-nya di chat box atau mungkin langsung raise hand. Pak Denny, kita udah ada satu pertanyaan dari teman kita ini, Mas Cyril. Kebetulan Cyril ini menempuh degree di computing. Saya akan mencoba langsung bacakan pertanyaannya. Pak Denny, Cyril curious about your take on the current AI revolutions as a person who follows the mobile revolution from the initial stage. Does AI adoption is going to be as pervasive as mobile usage even in the second and third cities in Indonesia? And how about the resistance that comes with them, whether it is cultural or structural?
Okay, very good question. Very heavy question, but I'm really happy to answer this. Yeah, of course. I think this is reality, right? The next wave adalah AI. AI adoption, ya kita percaya will be as massive as mobile adoption. Dan Google is very active in that as well. Again, another published information adalah teman-teman mungkin tahu kalau saat ini ada Gemini AI Pro program. You can check in the link. You can check in the web. Ada Gemini AI Pro student in few selected countries. Indonesia salah satunya. Itu for students itu bisa dapat menikmati Gemini AI Pro sampai I think if I'm not mistaken sampai Oktober 2025. You can check in the website for further information. Itu sekedar untuk menunjukkan komitmen terhadap AI ya, Mas Cyril. And of course kalau dari seperti yang saya bilang di awal di kesempatan pagi ini saya tidak merepresentasikan organisasi atau company, but what I can say is that kalau dari Google tentunya dalam dan ini I think in any other tech companies as well dalam mengembangkan AI definitely akan considering not only innovative but also responsibly ya, also innovation responsibly juga.
Baik, kita ada pertanyaan lain Pak Denny, tapi sebelumnya mungkin kalau boleh izin saya mau chip in satu pertanyaan yang mungkin pressing banget, yang mungkin mewakili teman-teman di Zoom ini. Tadi waktu sharing materi, saya ada bisa quote satu kata-kata Pak Denny yang mungkin ngena banget ke saya gitu, yaitu what is relevant today might be irrelevant tomorrow, yang mana itu menekankan kita harus punya growth mindset kalau misalkan ingin terjun di basically semua industri, tapi particularly di mobile and technology. Mungkin ingin nanya Pak, mungkin tips dari Pak Denny gitu, karena di sini kita kan sebenarnya banyak yang udah punya pengalaman kerja ya, terutama buat yang mungkin master ataupun yang PhD, tapi di sini banyak juga mungkin teman-teman yang baru entry level, yang mana mungkin baru lulus langsung tiba-tiba terjun nih ke dunia yang kayak serba uncertain dan serba kompetitif, terutama di mobile and tech. Mungkin dari Bapak sendiri, apakah ada tips buat teman-teman yang baru mau terjun ke industri, kayak what kind of skills and also mindset they have to adapt dan juga put into their mind kalau misalkan mereka ingin terjun di tim yang super kompetitif ini?
Ya, kalau saya lihat dari ambil dari key takeaways yang saya pilih di sini, I will choose the continuous learning ya. Continuous learning, always grow ourselves, then go extra miles. I think in one of the point tadi saya mention always go extra miles. Always go extra miles, and during my early stage as well, that was my mindset and behavior. Always go extra miles, not stopping here, continuous learning, and always seeking what will be the area yang kita bisa grow. Tidak hanya fokus di area bidang yang kita di-assign sekarang, but please be hungry to learn, right? To learn, to grow, even beyond our scope. That's what trigger, for example, on my career switching. Actually dari saya lulus sampai all the way for my first managerial position, I was in the engineering, and it was a comfortable position. Tapi waktu itu saya milih at the peak of my career in engineering management stage, saya switch ke mobile device marketing. the area that totally unknown. I didn't have any background at that time at all, zero. But saya passionate untuk continuous learning dan believe in growth ourselves. Kalau menurut saya itu yang paling penting.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Denny. Tadi kebetulan jawabannya saya rasa juga cukup mewakili ya untuk menjawab pertanyaan yang ada di chat ini dari Hanif, dari Economic Policy, dari CBE. Kalau dari saya sendiri mungkin ada pertanyaan lagi Pak. Mungkin mau izin nge-dig down dikit dari pengalaman Pak Denny sebelumnya ya, karena tadi salah satu yang di-emphasize adalah the rise and fall of the tech industry, of tech company yang Pak Denny sempat bilang tadi. Dan ini mohon izin Pak, mungkin kalau boleh nyebut brand langsung. Saya rasa ada pengalaman menarik ketika Bapak pernah ada di Nokia dan juga di BlackBerry ya, yang mana mungkin ketika Pak Denny di sana itu sedang rising banget, tapi sebagaimana kita tahu sekarang banyak banget kompetitor yang udah mungkin outcompete gitu. Mungkin saya penasaran Pak, dari perspektif Bapak sendiri sebagai orang yang ada di lapangan, yang memegang posisi leadership di sana, kira-kira apa sih biggest takeaway yang Pak Denny punya gitu? Kira-kira apakah ada satu atau dua alasan tertentu yang membuat beberapa, mungkin nggak necessarily brandnya ya, atau mungkin timnya sendiri, tim dari brandnya yang membuat dia failing dibandingkan sama kompetitor lainnya? Mungkin itu Pak, bisa sharing sedikit.
Thank you, Mas Rizal. You mentioned about that two brands. Bahkan sampai saya udah tandain loh. Saya udah tandain ini adalah titik di mana saya pindah keluar dari brand tersebut.
Betul, Pak.
Anyway, okay. I think if I have to choose again, it's all about adaptability. Jadi being adaptive ya teman-teman. Being adaptive, anticipate dan first of all, kita nggak selalu bisa foresee what's coming around the corner kan. And that's the reality of tech industries. We can anticipate, tapi mungkin kita nggak bisa foresee exactly. But we can anticipate. We can try to foresee. Now, just to reflect dari pertanyaan Mas Rizal tadi, I will say the answer is related with adaptability. Yeah, it's related with adaptability. Is related with agility juga ya. How fast and how agile kita switch gitu ya. It related dengan apa yang saya present juga tadi mengenai fail fast and iterate ya. Fail fast and iterate. So it's okay to fail. Okay, we put a bet like it's going to be in this direction. Tapi ternyata salah, ternyata teknologi nggak bergerak ke arah situ misalnya. Then we learn fast and switch fast, for example. Jadi kita mungkin nggak bisa foresee ya, kita nggak bisa foresee exactly what will happen in the future, of course, what will happen around the corner. Tapi kita bisa adalah being super adaptive ya, increasing our adaptability. Increasing adaptability ini berarti we are willing to open our mind juga kan, we're willing to open our mind and we're willing to this not gonna work, what will be the alternative. And iterate fast to improve. Saya rasa itu jawabannya Mas Rizal.
Baik, terima kasih Pak. Ini kita mungkin ada satu pertanyaan terakhir ya, karena kita ada waktu yang singkat, tapi kalau misalnya masih ada pertanyaan lagi boleh di drop. Ini saya bacakan verbatim Pak dari Mbak Iva. Mbak Iva ini adalah IT and Business Partner di Danone Indonesia. Saya mungkin bukan kompetitor Pak ya. Saya baca verbatim aja. I'm interested on your take about consumer behavior and adoption rate on technology. What are the main challenge for Indonesia to adopt into innovation every time now launch comes up? Dan ini saya rasa pertanyaannya pas banget buat Pak Denny ya, karena pernah responsible untuk digitalisasi dan juga adopsi teknologi dari user.
Ya, pertanyaan bagus sekali. Terima kasih Mbak Iva. Ya, again, sebetulnya ini part of product marketer job, ya kan? Product marketer job to answer this main challenge. Tentunya itu tadi. We have to understand the user, listen to the user, understand the user, understand the user, have a valid data point, has a right data point, ngerti needs-nya apa, how to reach them, how to communicate with them. I would say that is the way to break through the adoption, to increase the adoption. There's no other answer, nggak ada jawaban lain selain benar-benar mengerti dari usernya. Dan action plan-nya adalah start from the user, talk with them, ya kan? Talk with them, what they really need, find the barrier, tidak ada hipotesis yang bisa mendukung untuk increase adoptionnya harus dengan begini. It will be different from one target segment to another. So depending on the product, which segment that we are targeting, which problem that we try to solve, start from talking with the user. That's how to increase the adoption. Kalau menurut saya. Dan dari situ nanti of course is our job to translate itu menjadi marketing initiatives, marketing communication, tapi semuanya berangkat dari memahami end user dulu. Dan to understand them, start with talking with them. Immerse with their activities, immerse with their need. Try to reflect, try to visual what they really need, dan problem statement apa yang kita coba solve sebetulnya. Is it a really problem statement? Probably it's a problem statement that we make for them. Apakah itu benar-benar problem buat dia? We don't know. So start from the user.
Start from the user ya. Baik, sebelum kita tutup sesi seminar kali ini Pak, mungkin kita ada satu pertanyaan terakhir banget Pak. Sekaligus mungkin setelah itu kalau Bapak Denny berkenan mungkin bisa kasih pesan ke kita sebagai para mahasiswa ini yang sedang di luar dan juga masih ingin mengembangkan skill dan kemampuan. Jadi ini pertanyaan terakhir, kira-kira apa sih tantangan terbesar ketika Bapak transition dari satu karir dari yang mungkin tadinya lebih teknis ke akhirnya yang lebih manajerial? Dan mungkin terakhir untuk pesan penutup, mungkin kira-kira apakah Bapak ada pesan-pesan untuk kita para peserta buat yang ingin terjun ke akhirnya ke bidang teknologi ataupun mungkin yang sudah di teknologi tapi masih ingin mencoba kayak scaling up their playing field.
Oke. Tantangan untuk switch dari satu karir ke yang lain, I think it's all about the mindset, right? It's all about the mindset. I think if the mindset start from that we want to grow ourselves, karena remember dan tentunya seperti yang tadi Mas Rizal bilang, banyak sekali teman-teman yang sudah berkarir juga di forum ini. Career is not about vertical growth only, kan? Career is also, we're talking about horizontal, is also growth. So that's a change of mindset. Banyak sekali dari kita yang berpikir kalau growth in career is all about going up in corporate ladder. Enggak. It can be also horizontal growth. Learn something new, that's also growth. So that starting from the mindset. I think if the mindset is right, that we ready and embrace the change, and this is like something that really want to learn about, we're all set. Saya rasa tantangannya itu ada di mindset that I'm expert, ini bidang gue nih, hanya ini bidang gue, expertise gue di sini. Kita udah create barrier for ourselves to learn horizontally. Ya, jadi itu. Sorry, what is the next question?
Pesan untuk para audiens Pak, untuk closing sekalian.
No, I think pesan untuk audiens tentunya teman-teman, rekan-rekan di sini semuanya is I believe a very well competent semuanya, baik di tech dan expert di bidang masing-masing. I don't think I have any particular advice. I think thank you. Udah mudah-mudahan ada value yang bisa teman-teman dapatkan dari sharing session hari ini, and we always can get connected also later. Sepertinya ada beberapa pertanyaan yang belum saya jawab juga itu.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Denny. Benar, sebenarnya kita sangat antusias banget untuk materinya. Jadi sebenarnya ada beberapa pertanyaan yang sayangnya belum sempat kita raise, tapi saya yakin dari yang sudah kita diskusikan tadi kita belajar banyak banget. Terutama saya sendiri Pak, terutama di bagian terakhir tadi waktu Bapak bilang growth is not only coming from vertical, but also like horizontal. Yang mana mungkin bisa juga jadi pelajaran buat teman-teman di sini yang mungkin tadinya nggak ada pengalaman di tech, tapi menarik juga kayaknya ya. Jadi bisa kita banget belajar dari situ. Oke, mungkin dari saya selaku moderator cukup di situ. Saya kembalikan lagi ke Christine selaku MC.
Baik, terima kasih Rizal, terima kasih banyak Pak Denny. Daging semua ya presentasinya hari ini. I think one of the biggest takeaway for me, dan mungkin juga applicable buat teman-teman yang lain, I feel like when you say sailing through the wave of tech and changes, that hits very different gitu ya. Karena when we think about career, mungkin kita mikirnya statis aja, padahal dinamis along the ways. So that was really inspiring. One more thing, mungkin sebelum kita mengakhiri acara pada hari ini, mungkin teman-teman boleh buka kamera kameranya, izin kita foto bareng. Kapan lagi nih bisa ngobrol langsung sama Pak Denny dan hadir di acara eksklusif ini. Mungkin operator boleh dibantu untuk screenshot ya. Oke, mungkin teman-teman boleh juga kasih reaction-nya hari ini gitu ya. Let's give virtual claps. Oke, sudah siap mungkin teman-teman dan Hanif boleh tolong dibantu. Oke, let's go. Kita foto ya. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Thank you so much once again untuk Pak Denny atas waktu, insight, dan motivasi yang telah diberikan hari ini. We're very honored dan semoga kita bisa aplikasikan gitu ya, nggak cuma di dunia teknologi tapi juga di jalur karir manapun. Dan tentu saja kita berterima kasih kepada teman-teman Anwisa yang telah menyelenggarakan acara hari ini eksklusif buat teman-teman ANU maupun yang sedang studi di sini ataupun alumni. Untuk teman-teman yang mungkin pengen join tapi nggak bisa karena ada kelas dan lain-lain, boleh nanti dipantengin di YouTube ANU Anwisa. Oke, don't forget to stay connected with Anwisa untuk acara-acara menarik berikutnya. Nanti bakalan banyak banget acara expert series, book club, dan lain-lain untuk teman-teman ANU. Terima kasih semuanya sudah bergabung di pagi hari ini. Semoga hari ini kalian bisa dapat banyak takeaway ya, which I'm sure you guys did dari Pak Denny. Once again, terima kasih Pak Denny Galan.
Sama-sama teman-teman.
Terima kasih banyak Pak Denny, belajar banyak banget Pak.
Alhamdulillah, kalau bermanfaat. Terima kasih semuanya.
Terima kasih Pak Denny.
Terima kasih Pak. Sehat selalu Pak.
Sama-sama, sehat selalu.
Bye everyone.